Hi everybody, my name is Tyler Hagerty and I'm a Ph.D. student at the University of Delaware working on the Spotted Lanternfly project. We're here at White Clay State Park looking for spotted lanternfly in the area. For those of you who don't know, the spotted lanternfly is a fairly new invasive species. It was first found in Pennsylvania in September of 2014, where it was quickly discovered in Delaware. It's really started to hit a larger population within the last about year and a half or so. It is a hemipteran, so it has piercing, sucking mouth parts. It looks kind of like a moth, but it's actually more of a true bug. It likes to feed on plant material by drilling into the plant material with its long straw-like mouth parts. And after feeding, it starts to excrete a lot of honeydew, or basically sugar water. The plant nutrients that it feeds on isn't actually very nutritious. So it constantly excretes this honeydew, which can leave this black sooty mold on plants, which then can attract a lot of wasps, bees, ants, and other nectar feeders. Now, its favorite plant is Tree of Heaven, which is also an invasive. It starts to really like this plant once it hits a more mature level in its life cycle. When it hatches out of its eggs, which is usually around, say, in this area with the temperatures that we have, probably like May, June-ish. They're very small insects, small black insects with white spots. They then go through 4 instars, which is basically a fancy word for molts as it ages. The first, second, and third molt are small black insects with white spots. The 4th instar gets a beautiful red coloration to it, and then the insect molts, or it closes into an adult form, which is when it has its wings. It's about 1 inch long and can actually fly a decent distance. Once it hits this 4th and adult instar, it tends to favor Tree of Heaven, which is an invasive species as well. But the 1st through 3rd instar, the insect is actually moving a lot through the woods. It'll run up a tree, feed for a little bit, drop off, and then move to the next thing. In terms of control, there are several methods that are being used to try and slow down the spread and stop the spread of spotted lanternfly, specifically in Delaware and around the northeast area. The major way that we're slowing down the spread is by cutting down Tree of Heaven. Tree of Heaven females often produce seeds, which is an easy way to target and cut them down, and really reducing the amount of the favorite food that this species likes. Tree of Heaven loves to grow in yards. It also loves to grow next to driveways and on roads. It is very good in poor soil, so this is the kind of area that it really likes to grow in. In terms of actually catching spotted lanternfly, there are several methods. Many people have seen the sticky bands, which is like a sticky trap that wraps around trees. The unfortunate side effect of sticky bands is that it has a lot of bycatch, or basically things that you're not trying to target. A way to get around this is I always suggest if people are wrapping trees in sticky bands to cover the area with chicken wire. That'll stop things like squirrels and birds and other lizards, small mammals and reptiles that are getting into the sticky bands. There's actually a new-ish method of collection, which we call circle traps. It was originally invented for weevils, but basically what it is it's a mesh funnel that's wrapped around a tree, and as nymphs and even adults climb up the tree, they will get funneled up the funnel, and then they can end up in a bag that you attach to the top with either alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, or you can even use hand sanitizer, but I'm sure right now hand sanitizer is being saved for more important things. For the life cycle, once we hit around now, so today is later in July, once we hit later in July through December, depending on when the hard frost is, adults will start to emerge. And once the adults start to emerge, a week or 2 afterwards, they'll start to move about, and then we'll start to see eggs, possibly as soon as mid-August, probably late August, early September. The easiest way to control populations of spotted lanternflies is actually to scrape the eggs off of trees. Each female can lay, we're estimating, at least 2 egg masses, and each egg mass has 30 to 50 eggs in it. So if you're able to scrape off an egg mass from a tree, smash it either with a plastic card, or you can scrape them off into bags and freeze them or put them in alcohol, you're killing anywhere from 50 to 100 in like 2 scrapes, which is a great way to control them. Once they lay their eggs, they're usually focusing on areas that are flat. They'll lay them on trees, they'll lay them on rocks, 50-gallon drums, slides on playgrounds, anything really that's slightly flat, they'll lay on. and they often like to lay them on the undersides of things. So if you have a tree that branches upwards, a lot of times you'll find a lot of egg masses underneath. So while it's difficult to scrape, there might be 2 to 3 times the amount of eggs under the tree as there would be up the trunk where you're looking. As of last year, there was a quarantine placed for part of Newcastle County and now all of Newcastle County, Delaware, for the spotted lanternfly. And what this quarantine means is it's basically a reminder for people who are traveling to check their car before and after traveling to make sure that they're not transporting any of these insects. Both the younger nymphs as well as the adults are extremely good at getting onto or into cars, as well as laying eggs on things that you would transport in your car, such as a cooler that you left out on your deck. Now, for non-manufacturers or businesses, the best practice for people is to just check your car and check all your goods before and after transporting, especially if you're leaving or coming from a quarantine zone. And there's actually a checklist on the Delaware Department of Ag's website for what you're supposed to look for in terms of spotted lanternfly abundance. Now, if you're a manufacturer or a goods transporter or a governmental vehicle, there's actually permits that you can get and you're supposed to get so that you've been trained to properly check for eggs as well as adults and nymphs in the cargo or on the car that you're moving from place to place. So in terms of the impact that spotted lanternfly causes, one of the major issues with invasives is the fact that our ecosystem's really not prepared for them to be here. In terms of the spotted lanternfly, while they do favor an invasive species of plant, they also favor a lot of our crop species and our native species. In terms of agricultural plant species, they really like grapes. And they will also be feeding on things like apples, nectarines, hops, and other such areas that are grown. Now, when this insect gets in large mass, it can actually reduce the fitness of plants such as grapevines to the point where the plant is unable to survive through winter periods. And this can wreak havoc on vineyards, especially if large numbers of the insect mass on these plants. And as more insects find the plant, more insects will continue to move in and the problem can get out of hand. Thank you for listening, and if you see spotted lanternfly, particularly outside of the Newcastle County quarantine zone, be sure to email or call the DDA. You can find the information through the Delaware Department of Ag's website and report what you found.